Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the RotoBaller Radio Sleeper and Value Plays series. I'm your host, Anthony Aniano, with you here to take a look at some sleeper and value plays for Week 5 of your fantasy football season. And we'll start at the quarterback position with Derek Carr of the Vegas Raiders playing Monday night on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, currently on DraftKings, Derek Carr is averaging 17.8 fantasy points per game. He's got 6 touchdown passes in the first 4 games of the season. And he's priced right now on DraftKings at $5,900 for the upcoming week. But a chance to outperform expectations as the Chiefs are allowing 25.7 points per game to opposing quarterbacks, the 6th most points per game allowed to an opposing QB. They've given up 10 passing touchdowns in 4 games and 286.5 passing yards per game, the 28th most allowed in the league. Okay, Derek Carr's in a situation now. Devontae Adams getting more comfortable in the offense. Josh Jacobs has looked great. This should be a shootout on Monday night against Kansas City. I've actually seen Derek Carr in season-long leagues get dropped in single quarterback leagues. I think that's a mistake. Derek Carr could have a solid Monday night performance trying to keep up with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in a AFC West battle. At the running back position, my first running back on the value sleeper play, maybe some of them people don't view him as a sleeper, and I really don't either. But I wanted to mention him because oftentimes, whether it be on Twitter, here on YouTube, or on SiriusXM, I get asked, and my co-hosts get asked quite a bit, about James Robinson of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this is a smash spot this week for James Robinson. So no questions asked. James Robinson is in your lineup against the Houston Texans. Texans in a PPR format allow the most points per game to opposing running backs, 32.8. They've allowed 6 total touchdowns, 5 on the ground, 1 through the air, to opposing running backs. On average, the Texans allow 6 receptions a game to running backs. And the biggest number for me, Texans allow 172 rushing yards per game, 31st in the league. Just break it down simply, Texans have done a terrible job stopping the run and defending opposing running backs. Now, Robinson is averaging 15.6 points per game on DraftKings and is priced at a reasonable, actually I think very good price of $6,300 this week on DraftKings for who he's going against. On the season, he's averaging just under 65 rushing yards a game and has 4 touchdowns. My second running back on the sleeper and value playlist, Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots against the Detroit Lions. I was right about Rashad Penny. I'm doubling down and continuing to pick on that Lions run defense that's allowing 31.2 points per game to running backs, 2nd most in the league. Okay, 8 rushing touchdowns allowed on the season so far by Detroit and 165.5 yards per game, 30th in the league. Now, Stevenson is priced at $5,500 on DraftKings. Terrific value. He'll split with Damian Harris. I love both him and Harris this week because of that matchup against Detroit. He's averaging 11 points per game on DraftKings, 52.8 yards per game. I expect a lot more from Stevenson, and I do expect him to get in the end zone against the Detroit Lions. At the wide receiver position, my first wide receiver is Robert Woods of the Tennessee Titans. Treylon Burks looks like he's going to be out for a bit with the turf toe injury. Washington allows the 3rd most points per game in PPR formats to opposing wide receivers, 46.7 points per game. They've allowed 7 wide receiver touchdowns in 4 games, and they've allowed 5 wide receivers to have 15 or more fantasy points on the season in only 4 games. 273.5 yards per game allowed by Tennessee, 24th in the league. Robert Woods is $5,200 on DraftKings, and his last 2 games have been his best 2 since joining the Titans, 12.5 and 13 fantasy points. My second wide receiver, Corey Davis of the New York Jets. Now, you can pivot if you don't like Corey Davis, and I have Garrett Wilson, very similar to Corey Davis. Corey Davis is $5,100 on DraftKings. Garrett Wilson is $5,200. Now, Corey Davis has been more consistent. 13.3 points per game in the DraftKings format. 3 out of 4 games with over 13 fantasy points. And I like him against this Miami defense that allows 38 points per game to opposing wide receivers, the 10th most in the league. They've allowed 4 wide receiver touchdowns and 5 wide receivers to finish a game with 12 or more fantasy points. The biggest number for me you could throw on this Dolphins offense, 310 passing yards per game allowed, 31st in the league. And finally, at the tight end position, Logan Thomas of the Washington Commanders against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee last week alone against the Indianapolis Colts allowed a combined 11 receptions, 180 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. They were exposed as being unable to defend opposing tight ends. On the season, Tennessee allows 20 points per game to opposing tight ends, the second most in the league, and an average of 6.25 receptions, 77, just under 78, 77.75 yards per game, and a touchdown per game to opposing tight ends. Logan Thomas is dirt cheap on DraftKings. He's $3,200, yet he's averaging 7.4 fantasy points per game. And last season, Logan Thomas had a season high 5 receptions for the Washington Commanders. So in review, my sleeper and value plays for week 5 of the fantasy season: quarterback Derek Carr, running backs James Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, at the wide receiver positions Robert Woods and Corey Davis, and my tight end of the week, Logan Thomas against the Tennessee Titans. All right, head over to RotoBaller.com, sign up now, check out all the great sleeper and value play content, all the lineup optimizer decisions you need to make, the team sync tools. Sign up for all of it. Save 10% at checkout using the promotional code ACES. Follow me on Twitter at Aniano Fantasy, and stay right here on RotoBallers YouTube channel for all great content to help you prepare for week 5 of your fantasy football season. Good luck this week, and we'll see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.